Welcome to another freight market update. This one is for the month of August. My name is Greg Amanatidis. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Navia. I'm joined by Yanis Papantimos, who is our Head of Ocean Product. We always start off with a traffic light system, red being the worst, and that means you need to book 4 weeks in advance. Orange, medium, 3 weeks in advance, and green means that things are relatively stable and you can book 2 weeks in advance. And these relate to the ease of access to space. So how easily can you as an importer or exporter access space on a vessel? Yanis, let's start off with the Australia import from Asia. What's it looking like? Let's go North Asia if we can, Northeast Asia.
Yep, sure. Thanks, Greg. As we approach the traditional Oceania peak season, space is getting tighter, and carriers are doing whatever they can in order to make sure that capacity meets demand, meaning we have experienced during the last couple of weeks quite a lot of blank sailings.
Yep.
Same is expected for the first and second half of August,
yep,
because the announced rate increases out of Northeast Asia and Southeast Asia are going to most probably stick.
Yep.
Because capacity is not going to be there. Color-wise, we are sitting at orange at this stage, yes, out of both Southeast Asia and Northeast Asia, meaning we need to book minimum 2 to 3 weeks in advance. Things might get a little bit tighter as we move into the traditional peak, but we'll have to wait and see.
Beautiful. So that covers both Northeast and Southeast
correct,
Asia.
That's correct.
Oceania. Let's look at the USA into Oceania. Any issues
no
there?
Particular issues.
Pretty green?
Quite stable, yes.
Green. What about Europe? I know that in the earlier parts of the year there was heavy congestion. What's that looking like at the moment?
That is pretty much the case still. Some ports are doing better than others, but overall we would expect, and we have already said, that we need to add some buffer in the transit time out of Europe into Oceania. There are a lot of reports stating that this congestion might hold up for the foreseeable future, so we need to be ready about that. Color-wise, we would go with red at this stage. 3 to 4 weeks. Yes.
Booking. Okay, so that's into Oceania, into Australia and New Zealand. Let's now look at the USA. If I'm an importer importing into the USA from China, what does that look like at the moment?
There's no news at this stage. We are approaching the deadline, as we might have seen a couple of weeks ago.
The deadline for the end of the...
Correct.
The tariffs, yeah?
Yes, and that is first week of August, if not mistaken. As we have seen a couple of weeks ago, President Trump did mention that they had reached or were close to reach an agreement. However, nothing is yet official. As such, there's a lot of uncertainty. Hopefully, as we approach officially the beginning of August, this is going to be clarified. But at this stage, it's anybody's guess what's going to happen tariff-wise.
Okay. And in terms of capacity from China into the US?
What actually happened, as anticipated, a lot of capacity was put back into the Trans-Pacific trade, especially into West Coast, and that resulted in rates going significantly down the last month compared to mid or late June. Now carriers will readjust. Some of them have already announced a couple of services that's going to be withdrawn and a couple of blank sailings, but not to a stage where that will hold the rates from dropping further. Okay,
and so that's a green at the moment, is it?
Yes, correct.
Green, okay. So green with a watch this space, depending on what happens, basically. Now, Europe into the USA, I assume, is the same as Australia because the congestion is at origin.
That is correct.
That's also a red.
That is correct.
Perfect. Any other piece of advice for our customers?
Well, for Oceania especially, we are already there, meaning the peak season. So we have stipulated that a couple of times in our previous market updates. We need to make sure that we are sticking to what we have agreed, both in terms of named accounts and FAK, and keeping close contact with our NVO in order to see how market is going to unfold over the next couple of weeks.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. And I also spoke on the air freight front with our Global Director of Air Freight, Alana, and this is what she had to say on the air freight front.
So Alana,
Last time we spoke, the markets were in a little bit of turmoil because Qatari airspace was briefly closed for a period of time, and then the tariff pause was coming to an end. Now that there's been a bit of stabilization on both those fronts, how are air freight markets looking as we speak? And what do we expect happening to August?
Yeah, so thanks, Greg. While things have stabilised slightly in the Middle East since the airspace reopened, we're still watching it quite closely because any fresh geopolitical tensions, especially in the Gulf, can have such a knock-on effect in routing and capacity, particularly for freight moving into Europe and into the US. It's one of those lanes where things can shift really quickly and we need to be ready to adapt. So zooming out into the broader market, despite being in what should be really the quieter season, we're not quite seeing the usual dip or any real easing of the space constraints. The truth is that the market's really moved into a state of sustained unpredictability, and we're really seeing airlines chase yield, and we're seeing much shorter term positioning. It's really reactive and it's fast moving. So basically, if airlines are seeing a lane isn't profitable, it's deprioritised. From an Australia perspective for us,
we'll rip that capacity out.
Yeah, that's right. So capacity even out of Australia is quite tight, especially on the long haul lanes, and we're seeing that mainly because of high passenger volumes, which limits belly space. Obviously, everybody's off having their European summer.
Yep.
And so that means the freighter access is stretched as well. So inbound, we're seeing Europe to Australia. It's a really good example. It's seen as low yield compared to, let's say, Asia. So we're seeing airlines shifting space away from us. And if you're not ahead of trying to book that space, we're really missing out. So,
and the prices get driven up, I imagine, too.
Yeah, that's because there's such a demand put because there's so many service failures there or limited services in the market. So yeah, definitely drives price up. And then on the back of that, we're also seeing congestions through the key transit hubs like Singapore and Incheon and Hong Kong, and that's extending out transit times, and especially for oversized cargo. So this impacts us in Australia because that's where majority of our main deck cargo flies is via those ports. It's where all of the freighter aircraft go via. That's what's happening in our local market. But if we look more over in Asia, we see sourcing is shifting. China volumes are still quite soft, but Vietnam, Korea, India, they're all picking up, and that's kind of aligned, with broader diversification of the supply chains. So on the US and China tariff pause, it's helped in the short term with that diversification and putting aircraft onto other lanes. But, if we see any breakdown in talks with the 12th of August deadline approaching, that might cause another trigger and spike in front loading. And we see more pressure on Asia to AU and Trans-Pacific lanes as a result, just because we might see space and capacity reallocated over there to help with the front loading. So
it's a wait and see on that front too.
It is. It's a wait and see. But I guess my thoughts and opinions towards anybody who's trying to navigate air freight and their supply chain at the moment, I would try and maybe stop planning in quarters, because the market is not holding still for that long. So it really, you should change your plans down to kind of 30-day blocks and reinforce it regularly. Push for early bookings, especially on time-sensitive freight, so then we can put that through the Navia network and reserve space early, because with everything changing as quickly as it does, that sometimes can be such limited space, you want to secure it when you need it.
Awesome. Very good advice there, Alana. Thank you. Insightful as always, and we will see you next month.
Thanks, Greg.
Beautiful. Thank you very much to both Yanis and Alana for that update. As always, we'll try and keep you posted on any updates via email. You can subscribe to our mailing list to get these direct to your inbox, and we'll also be back with another market update video next month. Thank you.
Thank you.